$1 trillion, which is a range between 2025 and the end of 2027. The prior figure was $500 billion, which was stated on October 28th of last year over a period of 5 fiscal quarters through the end of calendar 2026. So what this new number is, $1 trillion between 2025 and the end of 2027, it doesn't represent an acceleration nor an expansion of the outlook that Nvidia had kind of given. It's not saying that growth is accelerating beyond the prior trend. What they are doing is making that outlook further out. They're telling us what they see through the end of next year, 2027. And the market reaction represents, the line chart, bring up your GIP on the terminal of Nvidia shares, massive spike when Jensen Huang said it on stage. And then Wall Street did the math. And
they realized this was just the natural progression of how things would go if things stayed at what he announced in October.
Yeah, I mean, it's very, very complicated because you can't say this is what they're tracking at on a per quarter basis going forward. The original forecast was just Blackwell Rubin systems. It was stated out loud by Jensen Huang on October 28th. And then it was a mismatch between a forecast for 5 fiscal quarters against a dateline of the end of this calendar year, 2026. There's another data point within it, and I posted the slide on X. There's a pie chart that they shared with it. What's really interesting is that Nvidia is saying that 60% of that revenue opportunity is coming from the hyperscalers still. Just those 4 big cloud computing providers. And the reason that's important is that with Nvidia has been something very closely tracked, how much they're reliant on the hyperscalers only, and how diversified their customer base is. And it seems as if actually it's swung back to being heavily, a majority being around the hyperscalers.
I did the same thing because I saw the number and I'm like trying to understand. I'm like, where's Ed? I need some context. And I was looking at, was it the CES reporting that Ian and you guys all did reporting? And he at that point was talking about $500 billion, right, in revenue by the end of 2026. And I think an opportunity that it could eclipse that. So we need to kind of, I don't know, is there a question you would ask Jensen at this point off of this number or off of this?
Yeah, why didn't you guys file an 8K or put it in writing so the market could understand it? And actually, I don't know. I think that the market might sympathize with me on that question.
Yeah. But is that, Ed, is the reason is because he wants something flashy for this event that he holds twice a year?
Look, in the sequence, the video will be available for people to watch back, right? But in the sequence of presenting that number, what Jensen Huang was saying was, I presented to you this $500 billion figure, and then he kind of make a joke that no one gave them credit for it, or no one was wowed by it. And he paused and he said, as I stand right here today, we now see $1 trillion through the end of 2027. And, for them, it was a really big moment. I'm really finding it difficult to pass. We're discussing it as a team in the IB about how do you word that and mismatch I'm trying to reconcile fiscal quarters with calendar quarters. What I would say is when that $500 billion came out after GTC DC, what happened was the sell side went away and baked it into what they modeled, and then that started showing up in their estimates. And so at least we can say, aren't we lucky that in the coming days, maybe you go on MODL on the Bloomberg and those numbers will be updated a little bit.
Okay, so in the meantime, we are getting some other headlines. I don't know if you had a chance to see these. The company saying that Vera has twice the performance of any CPU. Jensen says the CPU, quote, for sure, is a multi-billion-dollar business, or multi-billion business, rather. What about the latest from Vera at Nvidia, and how this changes the equation in hardware? Is this new to you?
So Nvidia has been hinting for a few months that they're going to go harder after the CPU market. And that was confirmed first with CoreWeave as having access to it, and then Meta as the CPU being sold as a standalone product. if you look at the market right now, in the moment that the headlines hit, there's no sharp reaction in AMD or Intel to the downside because the market's kind of baked that in, that Nvidia would do this. CPUs are not as valuable to Nvidia as GPUs are. The cost per CPU and where the CPU fits in the server design, it's a general purpose processor. It doesn't have the sort of AI workload specific use case that a GPU has, but it's an addressable market that Nvidia can go over to boost the overall TAM, and do something different that they've not already done. And there are loads of use cases where you might have data center infrastructure built that Nvidia's GPUs are not a part of the plans, but that CPU would come in quite useful.
Hey, one other headline I want to ask you about. Jensen Huang talking and showing off the new Rubin Ultra system. And this plays into agentic AI, which I feel like when I have AI conversations now, increasingly people are moving in that direction. What do we need to know about that? Is that a big mover,
yeah.
Or no?
No, insofar as that, Nvidia is committed to bringing out a new generation of platform on an annual basis. The details of the Rubin-based platforms have been released, and in terms of literally the energy it takes to power that thing relative to the Blackwell system, it's a big step up.
Yeah.
Tokens generated, it's a big step up. It's a much more efficient system, but those data points aren't that new. They've been specced out already and discussed.
Don't go too far, Ed.
It kind of explains, though, the trade, right? Like we got this kick up of more than 4%, and now we're just up about 1.67%.
Which I think was lower than where it was before.
It is
the announcement.
Because we were up 2% higher earlier in the session today.
Yeah.
We were up about 2%. Anything else you're looking at for at this point, or just I don't know?
Yeah, I ran away from my desk in the live feed to come join you guys, which is good. I'm not complaining about that. But the thing that I'm not seeing is a specific announcement on an inference-specific platform. Again, Nvidia hired Groq with a Q's CEO and other leading talent, and acquired the rights to their platform. And, I think that they've hinted that at GTC, Jensen Huang said explicitly, at GTC, we will hear more about what they actually plan to do with that transaction. And Groq was an inference-only platform. So you'd expect Nvidia to say, here's our offering for inference only. Yeah.
Ed, you gotta, for everybody, you gotta explain Groq with a Q versus Groq with a K, because I think people hear Groq, they think
sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, there is a AI hardware company called Groq with a Q. It makes accelerators or server systems, server designs for running AI workloads, not training them, but running them. Groq with a K is the tool, the chatbot of xAI, or indeed its model. The models are also named Groq. And xAI is Elon Musk's AI frontier lab or company, which is now owned by SpaceX, his rocket company. They are the same word spelt differently.
And Ed,
got that.
We end with the It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia whiteboard with Charlie. I think it's Charlie just standing there, trying to connect everything.
I think we should just load that into Viz or into our our system for the next time I'm on.